of the W. I'm Pete Garcia. I'm one of the hosts. This was episode 5, and I'm really looking forward to this one. We've been talking about it for a little while, having a great guest on today. And I'll give you a little bit more background. I'll remind everybody about what actually the history of the W is. We're here to capture stories, and we'll talk about Widener football. Widener football started in 1879. We have over 730 wins. We're one of only 53 college football programs in all levels of college that have over 700 wins. And right now we sit at number 42 on that list, behind three other Division III teams, which includes Mount Union, W&J, and Wittenberg. We're right ahead of Wabash, who we beat in the playoffs a few times. We have an overall winning percentage of .614. We have 2 national championships in 1977 and 1981. And we've had over 20 MAC championships, conference championship wins since 1975, 2 of which this entire crew have been on in 1994 and 1995. And I really appreciate everybody coming here. Bunta, how's it going, pal?
Yeah, no, it's great. Thanks, Pete. Thanks for handing that over. Like I said, I'm glad you had all the history, because the only history I had was the only 4 years that we participated in. So, I think we contributed to some wins there. I mean, like I said, our freshman year was the most challenging one, but I think what we saw between our freshman year and our senior year is progression, right? And ending our careers with 2 MAC championships and 2 playoff appearances, which is, to me, is something that I always remember. But also, we're in the record books, we're in the Widener books, and that's what's these calls and memories are made of, right? I mean, it's those opportunities that we took advantage of, but also these are the things that I would say this podcast and everything else, we're connecting with people, connecting with teammates, and I will say this, everybody here contributed to those wins, those MAC championships and the playoffs, so and the good thing, the funny part about this, is that I always remember Calvin, right? He was like my size, a quarterback, and I'll remember, because the thing about Calvin is, like, he's from York County, Red Lion, right, Calvin?
Yes, sir.
And not too many people from, I would say, this side of like Chester County, right? That would come to Widener, right? Me, Calvin, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. Everybody else was like heavily like in the Philly area, right? Or either the Catholic League or Jersey, and I felt like, great, I got somebody like from Lancaster / York County, somebody outside of the area. But that was the cool thing, I mean, that's the kind of memories, that like I said, as you can see, how many years later I still know where Calvin went to school. That's kind of like what this is all about, man. Exactly. So yeah, I appreciate that. Pete, thanks for the the history there. And and last, was it like the last podcast, we had we had Mad Dog on, so I'm gonna pass the torch on to Mad Dog, and and get a little bit of introduction there, and then and then you could pass it on to Calvin, and then we can continue with our podcast here.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, fellas, great to see Calvin, man. I miss Calvin. Total respect for him. Pete, as always, great job. Just like Bunta said, the history and the richness of the program. Everything that everyone who ever played or put that uniform on, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. To think that we're, number 4 in Division III football, to have that winning percentage. When you really sit back and think about it and take it in, right, that's pretty impressive. And being down here in Texas, and people ask me, well, they obviously know I'm from the East Coast because of my accent. And well, where did you play college ball? And I played in a small, school, Widener University, and some people are like, oh, I heard of Widener up in Chester, whatever it may be. But you never really got the chance to think about the history and the richness of the program, and truly something to be proud of. And like Bunta said, when we come together like this, regardless what our role was, we all contributed in one way or the other. But ultimately, it's about the friendships, the lifetime friendships, the stories and memories that really is close to my heart with that. So
absolutely.
I think it's outstanding. I really appreciate you guys having me on this. And and hopefully great shows to continue with more and more people as well. So thank
Absolutely.
you for that, Pete.
Absolutely, Don.
So
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate you being on.
yeah,
And
man.
as always, you
It's
guys
awesome.
always lend a great voice to everything. And we're gonna have we're gonna introduce our guest here, guys. Someone that we all obviously know very well. We spent a lot of time with. A 5-year player at Widener. Also a coach. He coached several years after. A big time award winner, an Orlowski Award winner, and also an All American in his own respect. And a great person, a guy that we always loved to talk to, bullshit with, do a shot with, whatever else. Someone from the middle part of Pennsylvania that sounded like he was from South Carolina somehow. I don't know. And, you know, the hillbilliest Pennsylvania guy I've ever met, but I love him anyway. My man, Calvin Tull. Thanks for joining us, Calvin.
Yeah,
Appreciate you being on.
thanks for having me on. Yeah, it probably is without doubt some of the most, I would say, memorable times of my life. Spent a good portion of my time there. As you said, I hung out there for 5 years, probably being a practice player. I knew what my role was, and then hung around for another 3 years as a coach. So yeah, it was great. I was fortunate enough that I got more wins my freshman season than I had my entire high school career. So and that was one of the goals that I had when I got out of high school. I obviously I wanted to play, but I wanted to go to a school that did it right. Um, and when I got there and I met with the coaching staff, you could see what what it was going to be. But till you get into it, you don't realize what it is till you actually get into it. Now we were laughing about getting out of the car and running 16 110s. I thought I was going to die about halfway through, but I made it and did it 4 more times. Because that was always, and that was always the speech you got right before you left for the summer. Don't come back fat, happy, and out of shape. I never came back fat, happy, and out of shape, but 2 days almost damn near killed me every year. Um, and I think there's some really memorable stuff, even though, that freshman year, I really didn't get on the field at all. We played a brutal JV schedule. But I definitely remember the first game we run against Uppsala because we blocked the field goal and won the game.
Yeah.
Um, I also remember the last game we played because at the time that was the oldest playing field in the entire country. We squeaked out a win against Lebanon Valley. I think it was 20. What was that?
I think we ran a punt back, Calvin.
20. Yeah,
We
we did run.
didn't Keith Dukes run a punt back, and we won the game from that.
Yeah,
It was the very last game of the
yeah.
ever at Memorial Stadium, if I recall.
Up here, I remember all of us joining hands, walking from one end zone to the other end zone, and that closed out a chapter. And then later, I remember reading in the paper that that was a treacherous field to play on because it didn't drain, and if it rained, they had one instance where they wrote up in the paper that the players actually had to push an ambulance out because he got stuck in the middle of the field. So yeah, those were unique. And then obviously when we came back in '94, it was under the new stadium. We had some experience. We finished 6-4 that previous year, and '94 started out a little rough, but it didn't take long. We got it together, and I remember Vic saying in a quarterback meeting that we beat Moravian, we'll be in good shape, and he was right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really really memorable. I think one of the wildest things though that freshman year was that goofy game that we had up in FDU where it just rained all night long.
Don't remind me. Don't remind
And
me.
Cato went crazy.
Yeah.
I forget how many yards receiving he had, but he went nuts. But we got him back next year.
I'll tell you what, Calvin, in that game, you guys, none of you guys know this, but the ball was literally half underwater. I
Yeah.
mean, they would put it down and it would like And that was the first and only game in my entire life where they benched everybody. You remember that, Boone? They pulled the
Yes.
whole offense out at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, and they put everybody else in it. We talked about this with Weiss, and he's like, Pete, he said, here's the difference between you and me. Like I was a good player, and then you were you. And he's like, in 3 quarters, you had 3 fumbles in all that mud and all that. He goes, in 1 quarter, I had 3 fumbles. So that's why you were there and I wasn't or whatever. But like that was gross, and they were just sending people in so we could wipe our hands off because it was so terrible, man. That was the worst game I've ever encountered in my whole life. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure it's very similar.
Actually, there were people taking their jerseys off and handing them.
Yeah.
Trying to somewhat stay dry, but it was impossible. I'd never seen rain like that
No.
in my life. But
I think it was that game, Calvin, and then it was our freshman year, Pete, at home against Wilkes. Our freshman year down at Memorial Stadium. It was pouring rain there. Like it was I think those were like the 2 worst games, I think, when it came to like pouring down rain.
I think I'll disagree slightly, and I'll tell you why. Because they were still in like the early part of the season, but we played Boonta and I played at Susquehanna 3 times because they switched the conference, and every game it was wet and cold, and it was the last game of the season, or second to last game, and it was like 34 and raining and disgustingly cold, gross, whatever. And it was always just really, I swear to God, that's why my fingers have problems, why they're always cold, because of those games, man. And it's nothing to do with being 50 and bad circulation, or it's from that Susquehanna games, this motherfuckers. It was so cold and rainy at those games.
I think the only one that was weird too was that playoff game that we had in '95 against Lyco, when they had to try to use a helicopter to drive the field out, which, that game always came down to a possession, and it was never, it really was always close.
The difference of that game, I'll tell you what the difference in that game was, and maybe you guys know this. We threw a flea flicker for a touchdown, and it got called back for holding. It was Jeff Bell's only holding penalty all season. And then we had another play where we were running a screen pass, and I missed a block, and the guy hit Vic and ran it back for a touchdown. That's the difference of the game. 2 plays. That was it.
Is that where we scored? I mean, didn't Hamill kick like 5 field goals that game?
And I think he missed one too. I think it hit the upright or hit the crossbar or something. But I mean, it was,
that's like 5 scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
We could, so
sure. I mean, we should have blew them off the field. We should have blew them off the field both games.
Yeah.
The first time we lost to them by 1 point, we had like 175 yards more offense than they did and everything. I mean, we beat the daylights out of them. We just couldn't put it in the end zone.
Yeah.
Same thing with that game. I mean, we should have beat them by 40.
Yeah.
Without, it just, we didn't. That was it. It had nothing to do with the field. It had nothing to do with the field.
No.
Nothing to do with being wet. Nothing. We just didn't.
I've never seen a helicopter trying to drive a field.
Oh, yeah. That was a trip, man. Seeing that, like, I was like,
what the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
There's some wild times. That team in '95 had a lot of resilience because we had everything stacked against us we could possibly have stacked against us that year. Every running back that we had got dinged and banged up. We ended up going, basically to a 2-minute offense, basically from that Lyco game on, because we just weren't healthy. And, and I'll never forget the Susquehanna game. I didn't play it, but they're lining up for the field goal to win that game. And we asked Jack Signer, what did the dude say to you? And dude said, well, there goes your MAC championship. There goes your NCAA playoffs. And Jack said, that may be true, but you got to snap the ball. And he said, literally, I think the guy shit his pants when I said it. And he just end over end rolled the ball back And it was just wild.
Yeah.
That was a wild game. It's just a wild season.
Yeah.
I remember the other game up at Albright. That was another game we lost. We lost every running back, and Edmund Robinson, who was a fullback, we had to put him at tailback. And I think we ran 6 and 7 draw probably 10 times, and they knew it was coming. And every time we got the 3rd and short, we'd get another one.
Yeah.
It was, you know,
It was a weird season because
oh,
I'll give you my quick impression. So after coming back from '94 and everybody just lighting it up on offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, George, Anthony, Rob Son, you guys, receivers. I mean, we couldn't do anything wrong. Everybody had records. Everybody was running all over the place. So I remember being in the locker room talking to like George and Anthony. Everybody like, who's going to get 1,000 this year? Who's getting 1,000 yards? Right? Like, because we never had one.
Nope.
But we had all this offense because it was just spread around, right? And they changed the offense. They got rid of the double slot thing, and did this pro set stuff and whatever. And it was like, and George quits and comes back, and they put him a D-back and all these other things. And it's like, what happened? Like, I understand the strategy behind, look, we need to change up some things because they knew we've been doing it for 3 years, but they weren't going to stop us. No one was going to stop us. They could put 10 in the box. It doesn't matter. But, I can understand what the concept of it, but it was really hard to swallow my senior year, Boone to senior year, to like change up things like that and kind of abandon what we did. And, it made me, I was personally, I was not feeling well, mentally. They were on my case about everything. And, I wasn't in the same headspace, and I told Cubit plenty of things that season. He didn't care for me, put it that way, that season. So it was, I had my own apprehensions about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that season or not. I think Bolt remembers it. I don't know how you guys felt about two-a-days.
Yeah.
I felt fortunate to make it out of two-a-days alive.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know what it was. It wasn't like I was never in shape. But when I switched to wideout, I could not get through two-a-days. I remember one of them, and I played Z. Every damn thing Z ran was 15 yards. You were praying that they called 380 so you could get a frickin' stop route at 6 yards and just catch it. I had to run 2 huddles, and I lost 16 pounds in a session.
Wow.
I got that sick, and I was bullshitting on my weight because remember, you had to weigh in before and you had to weigh in after. And I ran downfield for a post pattern and laid out for it, and I couldn't get up. And I heard Cupid go, AJ, get him off the field.
Yeah.
AJ looks at me, goes, dude, you look like shit. He goes, we're taking you in. And I almost died because they picked me up and they put me in that damn ice bucket, that trash can. And AJ goes, get on the scale. And I'm like, oh, shit. He goes, you're done. You are not doing anything else. He says, you're done.
Yeah.
So I had to sit out of practice because I just couldn't physically run anymore. It's because that, like I said before we jumped on, that error marked food was just absolutely horrible.
It was running through you, man. Nothing was sick to you, right?
It was too good.
Yeah.
The craziest thing about that 95 season when we started out was, the Wilkes game that, like you said, Pete, we scored so many points and then it flipped around to the other. And then the next week when we had to go to FDU, I think every coach got fired on that trip because we got lost. That was another one where it rained.
Yeah.
And I think we were told we had 12 minutes to stretch because if we didn't get out on the field, we forfeited the game. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was just one where nothing went right that game either.
Hey, you go back and look at the box score. We put up 35 points. wasn't like we weren't. It wasn't like there wasn't a chance. And that's another one where, again, everyone's mental state was different and changed at that point. That's what I felt. And we're in the locker room changing, and I heard guys screaming at who I don't know who. I don't remember who it was, but they were screaming at the DBs. You know, that they were getting burned and whatever, and they were going to fight. And I remember jumping in and be like, hey, look, we didn't score enough points. It ain't nobody's fault. It is what it is. Offense didn't score enough points. We didn't win the game. Stop it. You gonna fight now? What happened with the last 60 minutes?
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was, I get that happens, but like, there was a lot of people that were, tough guys after the fact. We just busted our ass for 60 minutes, digging out of a hole that wasn't our fault from the buses and all the other shit. And we still put up 35 points. And guys were just, we all know we lost a lot of people from at 94 that were, killers. And there wasn't a replacement for Antonio Moore. There wasn't a replacement for Joe Scarpati. There wasn't. We had some good players, but those guys were killers.
I tried to think about that today. That starting front four was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Jimmy, it was Danny, OJ, and I can't remember. Was it Lloyd?
Lloyd Hill.
Lloyd. But guess what? The guys behind him that came in and got rotated in, they weren't any slouches either. I mean, that front four lived in everybody's backfield in 94. They were, and they were good guys too.
Mm-hmm.
Good players, good men.
Yeah, but
but in '95 we also took a loss to Kane too on that Friday night. Remember?
No, that was '94, Gary.
Was it '94?
That was the first game in '94. We lost. I'll tell you that story. So that was the first game of the season.
Okay. We
lost to them by 1 point.
Yeah.
We come out for the game. First two drives, touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. We're up 14-0. Third drive of the game, Jeff Bell messes his knee up, and we lose him for the game. We lose him for 4 weeks, and we can't move the ball at all. Nothing. I don't know. I don't remember the game that well, other than those facts. And then I remember getting, we do get the ball towards the end of the game. It's 14-8, I guess, whatever it is, or 14-7, whatever. And we get all the way down into inside the 10, take a timeout. And Hubert tells Vic, make a play. Throws an interception in the end zone. Guy runs back for a touchdown. We lose by 1 point.
That was to me. That ball was to me.
Stuff happens. I mean, it's
it
is what it is. It sucks, but it is, didn't stop us the rest of the season. It just put a lot of pressure on us. But that's what it was. We're 1 point away from being an undefeated team for the season.
But that game though, I mean, that game was like, that just shows you, like, even though it's the first game of the season, it just showed you like how good of a team like we were, to start off playing that team. That, I mean, they team was pretty good. I mean, they were a really solid team. They had a lot of big kids, a lot of athletes, but we came in there. They thought they were going to walk all over us, and the way we played, we dominated that game. One stupid play, right? One stupid play kind of changed like the whole, But the thing was, if you think about it, we could have folded the whole season off that one game, or we looked at that game and then just turned our season around. I mean, that was the best part about our team, So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's just, these are the circumstances.
Yeah.
That you live with, unfortunately. It's the way it is. But, it's, good. It's still, it's funny. For me anyway, that I can remember some of this stuff.
Oh, I can remember some stuff like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it just stays with you. I mean, and it should, because we put everything we had into that, no doubt. We did. We left it all on the field. Great group of people. We had a small army too. Last time I saw Sean, and Sean Stoner, and I don't disagree with this. He said we had some third teamers that if they went other places in the MAC, they'd have been starting. I remember some weeks the scout team offense scored more than the opponent did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, same thing for you guys. I wasn't on that end of the field because I was running a lot of the scout team stuff, but I'm sure, our scout team defense probably gave you more problems than some of the opponents did.
And I loved every bit of it. Right, Pete?
That's right, baby. That's right.
I mean, the biggest compliment, Calvin, I got was from the O-line, which was nice, saying that, you know what we did in practice to prepare them would made the game much easier for them. So you're exactly right. And we talked about that in the last episode, like myself coming in and things. And, I couldn't break the line up, on the D-line, not with what was already there. But if I went to another place or we went to another place, we're probably starting somewhere. But we wouldn't have had the successes that we had at Widener. I mean, things like that. But that's the biggest compliment I got. I didn't get to showcase it on Saturdays. You know what I mean? We're there supporting, but no one saw behind the scenes of the work that was going on other than the team, the coaches, like yourself and myself, who did the dirty work to get these guys ready to go. And so, we made it tough for them and we worked them, then we did our job.
Well, what you just said, Calvin, and Dog backed it up. Like we were practicing against starters for other teams the whole season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we were practicing against. We weren't practicing against like true scout team guys. We were practicing against guys that we were probably going to play against on Saturday. Basically, that's what was happening. So that's what, that's the difference. That's the elevation. I mean, like Alabama's not playing against whatever Louisiana Tech guys. They're playing against their guys all week long and beating the shit out of each other. That's why they're better, right? So that's kind of what we had, and you guys probably could have went somewhere else and started at FDU or whatever, Lebanon Valley or something like that, and they're Albright, but you can probably would have gotten a great time, but the same result would have happened.
I think the other thing that made it different too, if you guys, if the starters didn't play well, those guys who were on the scout teams kind of took that personally.
Mm-hmm.
That, we didn't do what we should have done to make sure they were prepared, which, I think it says a lot about the character of the guys that were on the team that, any grandeur that they were going to step out on the field probably wasn't going to happen on a consistent basis. But, you took pride in knowing that, hey, you prepared the guys that were going to go out and play, and hopefully it was easy. And I remember Coach Hoops saying that if you could get past our guys, Saturday should be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some cases that probably was the case. What do you think, Bunta?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you brought that name, and I was thinking about him like the whole time, like how that guy really changed how I played, coaching, because, being a receiver, you always just want, you want to run routes, you want to, catch the ball. But one of the most important things, about being a receiver is like, there are running plays and you got to go down and block and stalk block. The amount of time that we would spend on stalk blocking, kind of like made you hate him. But when you look back, you're like, man, he made me that much better as a team player, to come out and going down to like, block, do whatever, right? I mean, that's the whole thing, like, with hoops, and the whole thing about us being a team was like, we would go up and regardless if it's like first team against first team against second team, first team against whatever, we were just making each other better, when we're doing stalk blocking, when we're running routes and doing things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's like us prepping for each other. Like if somebody will go down, that person hopefully could, next man up, right? Step in, and be able to step in and make the big plays. And that's kind of like, how we operated. And the whole thing was like, what I felt about our team was like, I never felt like I was that much better than you. You know, I would never had that. We were all like a group, a team, you know, and that was the best part about that whole receiving crew. You know, we joked around a lot, and it was just like we never, I don't think ever said anything negatively impacting each other. Where like, we were always above the rest or I was above you. We were never, I don't think any comments were ever made like that. That was the best part about it. We were all on the same level, so.
And the one thing, guys, is that, a few things is the way the team was built, right? We had great leadership on the team, minus the coach. I'm talking to you guys as captains, that you made sure everyone's ego was checked at the door, right? And no one rode around with the ego. But the thing of it is the makeup of that team, you looked at players, whether it's the starters all the way to the scout team, everyone knew that we're there for business and to win. And a lot of us came from winning organizations in high school to begin with, that we weren't going to accept anything less. Regardless what your role was in that play, you knew you had a job to do. And ultimately, I think it was the mentality of the whole team that came in and said, look, it's not about me. It's about this team and the amount of the athletic ability that we had and put it together and the push. We weren't going to let anyone quit. Losing wasn't an option. Right, from the top down. And I think that's the fortitude of what that locker room was. And I give credit to the coaches for putting that type of team together and recruiting that type of player. So, it's a contribute to everyone, but most importantly, it really led by the captains of the team, and modeling that for all of us to say that no one's going to walk around here acting like they're better than anyone. And we're going to fight to the end, and we'll be beside each other, through the good and the bad. And we're going to pick each other up, and we're going to keep battling. And that's what I remember most about the locker room and everyone, on the team. I remember when me and Dougie first met McLaughlin, we got in a fight in practice. That's the first time I ever met Doug. Right. And then after practice, we hugged it out. And then ever since then, if you guys remember us lining up, which used to piss Cuban off all the time, I would yell, sucker, and then Doug would yell, bitch, and it was just, and we just had, and then obviously pledging together too, right? But that piece there, the competitiveness that we had, brought us, together, and it happened for all of us. So it was the great times of being part of a great group of guys that had the same common goal and love for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I think some of those guys that we had in '93 were just really good athletes in general, because, I remember Jeff Steigerwall started out as a running back, moved to safety. Bobby McCabe, he was a fullback, moved to safety. And there's probably more that I just can't remember right now. But there were just some good athletes, even though, Cubitt used to say fullback was a non-athlete. But, I thought Dougie was pretty damn athletic for what he could do. But,
Dougie was good. He was good.
Yeah. I tell you, I think
Jeff Barnes was good. Remember Jeff?
Larry Barnes. I think
Barnes.
Larry and I missed about the same games in '94. We both got hurt in '94, and I missed 3 games. I think he missed 3 or 4. But up until that point, if you go back and look at some of the numbers and stuff like that, up until that point, Larry was having an all-conference season. I think he had like 8 or 10 touchdowns, and I mean, he was like the short yardage guy. He was getting it in, and then he got hurt, and I don't think he played much at the end of the season. He came back for maybe 2 games, and then he didn't come back in '95. So, but it was like, if he didn't get hurt, I mean, he could have had, a dozen or so touchdowns and been first team all conference. So like, those are the things that, flip it for somebody, unfortunately. And, that's what was going on with him. But,
talk about great athletes. Avery was another one. Avery Columbus he ended up playing fullback for us. I can't remember, at some point during either the 94 or 95 season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was when Larry got hurt.
There he got hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, we just had good people, no doubt.
Yeah,
Well,
we were definitely like deep in our, like, I would say, skill positions. We were definitely deep, which is great to have.
Yeah, we were.
Somebody else will step up. That was the best part about that. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you again go back at some of the stats, particularly for '94. So you had, just from a running perspective, George and Anthony both top 800 yards rushing together, one each. Robson had 600. That's over 2,000 yards just from those guys. That's not counting Vic running the ball, or Brian Green, or fullbacks, or Bunta, or anything else, right? So just how many people could get the ball and do a lot of damage, and did, and really, really did. You start to talk about it, you start putting the numbers on paper, and you go, Jesus Christ. And it's funny to see. And you guys talk about the depth at the skill positions. We weren't that deep at O-line. We weren't. There wasn't anybody. There wasn't many people past the top 5 guys. I mean, I think that could really step in and handle it. The only person was Weiss. And that was, once you get, there was, the rungs got a little less, a little lower, unfortunately. And guys did step in and do an admirable job, but it wasn't dominant like it was at that first level. So, it was hard to, you had to farm those guys up a little bit. And it happened. Eventually it happened, but once you got past that first rung, it dropped dramatically, unfortunately. But we hung in there. So thankfully, everyone pretty much stayed healthy that season. So
I thought you guys had freshmen that year. Wasn't Max Belfast starting?
Max started and never came back. Unfortunately, that would have been a great return. Ryan Cawthorn hung in there and did well. Mike Carroll was also very good up until that point, and then I don't think he started in '95 and then quit the team, I think. So which made no sense why he wouldn't be starting. So we lost some of those anchors, unfortunately. And then losing Dave Braxeter was an irreplaceable loss. But I mean, we still had, the line was still solid in '95. I mean, me and Jeff and Weiss started a bunch of games, and Ryan, and I don't remember who else was there, but it was still all conference, all American guys in the line. It wasn't like we were hurting, but there was always a little bit of a revolving door, unfortunately, where all the other positions seemed to have the same core guys for 3 or 4 years, unfortunately. So
I think that was the other challenge too. How do you spread the ball around, keep everybody happy? All those guys. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. But
yeah, no, I agree with you. And I again, like I said a little bit ago, I mean, changing it up like they did and kind of leaving, from what I remember, again, I didn't go back and look at the tapes and this and that, but kind of leaving guys like George and Anthony out a little bit, which it felt like they were. Maybe I'm wrong. Felt wrong. And I know, they featured Robson a little more, and the fullback, Edmund Robinson a little bit. But which again, that makes sense too. I mean, the guy was, an athletic beast, but, we had a lot, we had a huge, the cupboards were full, very full. So I get what you're saying, about giving everybody their due, but, it turned out fine. It turned out okay. We did all right. You know what I mean? We did okay.
Yeah.
So Calvin, go back to the beginning. How did you end up at Widener? Where else were you recruited, man? What was the story? How'd you end up with this motley crew, bro?
I really wasn't recruited anywhere. We were horrible. We were a horrible high school football team. I started my junior year and got some spot duty my senior year. So my junior year, we won the last game of the season. And then my senior year, I think we won a game in the middle of the season. And there wasn't anybody knocking on the door. And I'm like, and the coaches that we had, it was such discord. I'm like, I knew this was not right. This is not how it should be done. So I had enough technological skill to just start piecing highlight tapes together. And I sent them to numerous schools in the MAC. And I just waited, and I got a call from Coach Swan one night at like 10 o'clock at night. And then I had taken the trip down to Chester and saw the place, went to a couple other schools, and I just remember telling my parents, I'm like, look, this is where I want to go, which my dad goes, Jesus Christ, did you pick the most expensive one on the list? Which wasn't a lie either. But I had no idea what I wanted to do. I exploratory studies is what I started with. And the knucklehead that I was, somehow chemistry, biology, and what the hell was the other one? Physics ended up being electives for me. And I remember, I think Coach McGrain might have been the um, advisor at that time, like trying to double. He's like, "What the hell are you doing? Why why are you doing this? Why are you making this so difficult?" But so yeah, that's how I ended up there. And of course, came back for accepted students day, and got in there, and there was, I couldn't believe when we went out on the first day of the field, because I looked at the depth chart. I'm like, man, we got 8 fullbacks. We got 8 fullbacks on the depth chart. I forget. I think we might have had 6 quarterbacks at the time. And the interesting thing, by the time we got all said and done, I'm not sure how it was when you guys, played your final senior year, but when I got to my senior year, there were 7 out of that class of 100 plus. I think I could name the 7, but if I left somebody off, I'd feel pretty embarrassed about that. One thing I do remember, I remember taking that senior picture, and I know Bobby McCabe was on the team, but for some reason he was not in that senior picture. And I don't know if he slept in or he had a good night the night before, but he wasn't in he wasn't in that senior picture. And then of course, I decided I tore up my ankle really bad my sophomore year. AJ actually looked at it and said, dude, you'd have been better off if you broke this. Because it was that bad. And I talked to Coach Juan. I said, I'd like to come back for another year. He said, how will we do it? I said, I'm guessing a medical red shirt. AJ looked at it, and they put the application in, and yeah, I came back for a 5th year. So I forget how many was in that class. It was maybe 125. So 7 of us were left senior year, and one knucklehead decided to come back for a 5th year and then hang around and coach for 3 more. And those coaching experiences were pretty wild. I was a much better coach than I ever was a player. Part of the reason for that was I had to beat people with my head. I was pretty strong for my size, but I certainly was not fast. I could hold my own, but I wasn't keeping up with Bunter or anybody else in a race. But when we got to coaching, I took to that very naturally. And started off with an absolutely fantastic team, the 98 team that we had, which is probably the most heartbreaking loss I've ever been around the game that we
I was at Lyco. I was there at the game for Calvin.
Leading 13-2 with 1:15 left to go. And, for whatever reason, we decided we're not going to blitz anymore. And they got in the end zone. And you thought, well, we're still going to be all right. We got an onside kick coming, 2 kids going for the ball. One of them's got it secure. Other one hits it, pops it out. They end up winning the game. And you looked at the box score and like, how the hell did we lose that? and they have negative 44 yards rushing.
Mhm.
Uh,
That was
and
it. That was a defense. I mean,
oh,
I know we had good defenses, but that defense was Godzilla. I mean, they stomped everybody. It was
they, hell,
unbelievable. Yeah.
a conversation one time.
Yeah.
I remember Nick Samet saying to me on, the drive back home from Mount Union in 2000, he said, could you imagine if we had this offense in 2000 and the defense that we had in 98?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, well, I think we'd still be playing. But yeah, that was probably the most gut-wrenching loss ever. But 2 years later, we got those bastards back at home. I don't know if any of you guys went to that, but that was a 50-49 victory by us, and I think double overtime, actually triple overtime. And I can still hear the sound of when that Lyco kicker hit that field goal off the top left upright, and I thought we're in good shape. And freshman kicker went up, kicked the extra point, and it was pandemonium. that was a really interesting team, that 2000 team. Um, I would say probably top to bottom. I don't think they were as skilled as maybe our teams were in 94, 95. But you want to talk about just not a whole bunch of yelling and screaming and hollering, rah-rah guys or anything, just very businesslike. And I would say there were definitely, don't get me wrong, there were definitely some good skill guys there. But I mean, from a total team perspective, those guys bought in. And I mean, they got the whole way to a Final Four, and lost to the eventual national champion. So nothing to be ashamed of. And they were really good kids, really good kids.
Very cool. That's good. I'm glad you're bringing up some of your coaching stuff, because I was, curious to see how that came about, and
It was
what you got out of it, Calvin. How,
oh
because Gary coached for a while there too, and I guess I don't know if you guys did
5 years.
cross paths. Yeah. So
I mean,
it's great to see that. I mean, it's great to get giving back wherever you can.
yeah. And like I said, I was a much better coach than I ever was a player. And I told, I did a lot of stuff in the passing game. When I was coaching the wideouts, Coach Hoops had actually left, and Coach Clevey had actually took over as a wideout coach. And I told a lot of those kids, I said, look, you listen to me, you can get open. And I was still out there kind of running routes, showing them how to do stuff. I said, if you listen to me, you're going to end up open all the time, because I'm the slowest man known in America. And, but, we had Jimmy Jones and Michael Coleman, who were really just solid people and really good athletes. So, yeah, that was really an interesting, that was one where I felt like I went out on top. It would have been nice to win a national championship, no doubt about it. But, that was a really enjoyable time. Got to spend some time with some real good coaches and some real good players. I'd had a lot to say about what went into game plan in those 3 years. But yeah, that was a great experience, fantastic experience.
Very
And then
cool.
got to walk in May with my master's degree. Didn't even get a day to enjoy it. Came home and opened the mailbox and said, "Congratulations, you owe us $70,000." Like, man, that's by a lot of national bohemian, man.
Put it this
Yeah.
way, Calvin.
Yeah.
That's 1 year of college now. That's 70 grand.
Crazy. That's crazy.
It is.
So you
It
had a
is, man.
lifetime. You had like a lifetime of, like, I would say, achievement, fun, football, school. And here it's like 1 year. You're like 70 grand in the hole.
Oh man,
Fair.
So
that's funny. That's funny, man. That's cool though, man. I appreciate that. I mean, it's nice to have the alumni involved, like you were, like Dog was, and some of the others too, before us and after, which is great to see because it's not done very often. And then, I felt for Woody when he was let go. I think there's always a disadvantage, unfortunately, at the school. The budgets are not great and things like that. There's always a financial situation, and they're always fighting an uphill battle. But whatever we can do is always commendable. It's really nice to hear, though.
Yeah, I think, talking about Coach Wood,
Yeah.
I think everybody has one of those experience. Hey, I've had it in my professional career. But the guy's a survivor, and I think he's exactly where he needs to be, though.
Yeah.
And he's done great things at that school, and probably impacted a ton of young men's lives.
Absolutely.
So I give him a ton of credit.
Yeah. No, he's got what's he been at Ridley now for at least probably 15 years or more at this point, right? It's been quite a while. So he's done a lot. He's done really good work there, really successful. He was a heck of a guy. When Boonton and I were there, he was just a graduate assistant.
Oh,
He was in grad school. And I remember going to Pack Hall, which I don't know if you guys knew it. You guys knew what Pack Hall was. I don't know, Gary, if they were still doing it when you were there, but I think so. But I would actually show up,
Oh, yeah.
thinking it was like mandatory. Oh, I better go to Pack Hall tonight. And he's sitting in there, as the proctor with his, his taxation book, and the thing was, like that thick, and he's reading it like, "Hey, coach, what are you reading?" It's taxation. Like, oh my God, dead asleep in front of everybody reading that. But yeah, he powered through it.
I don't know why this sticks in my head, but I remember. You remember those stupid tray things we had to put in the cafeteria when we were done? We had to put those things in the tray. That tray holder that get oiled around.
Yeah.
I remember Woody did that one night, and I think he got his shoestring stuck in the wheel. And when he went to turn around and leave, it dumped the whole thing. And everybody stands up and gives him a standing ovation.
Oh man.
I think he left the following night. Cube said, "Hey Woody, don't wreck the cafeteria tonight."
They were rough on him, man.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
well,
They were they burned him up, man. They
well, he had, those were the, next to probably the quarterback position. That was the toughest position to coach.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, George and Anthony probably kept him sane.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean they were golden, those two guys. They could do whatever they wanted, pretty much at all times.
Yeah.
And they were good kids. They were good, they were decent students, and they were not they weren't out doing some of the shit that we were all doing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about either.
It's funny because you went from George and Anthony, and the next ones on the list were Steve Perez and Avery, and they used to give Woody fits. I mean, and they were trying. They just, they were young guys. They didn't know everything they were doing. But
and it's funny because like Steve was a smart guy. And I don't think he could. He just wasn't getting it,
No.
But Avery wasn't, but he wasn't getting it either. So
I'll never forget that he got actually put in that FDU game that one time. And do you remember Coach Randolph?
Sure, the black guy, right? He was yeah. He would call everybody by the wrong number,
Yo six.
Yeah. He was good, man. He had those guys rocking. He was tough.
At Woody one time, he says, "You know what Cologne's problem is? He doesn't give a fuck."
Yeah. Imagine if he cared, right? Like,
oh man.
it's just funny. Booth and I were there longer than you guys, at least, or started before you guys, and it was designed that way. Like they brought in everybody fresh, and they were getting rid of the old stuff. And our freshman year, '92, there was a couple of guys that still started that were maybe seniors or whatever, but most of the starters were freshmen and sophomores. It was about half freshmen almost. And that was by design. It was because they
Yeah.
knew about 3 years from now, it was going to be a giant pool of people coming through that were just, straight killers. And, they did it for a reason. And they were taking out the trash, unfortunately, and that's the way it happened. But, you needed to be on the ball, man. Like, so like, I could tell you, I mean, if you put the playbook in front of me now, or we got in a huddle and Vic walked up and said a play, I would know what to do. I still know what to do. Absolutely, to this day. And it was just pounded into us so well that, I mean, I don't remember what the plays were. I know 80 and 90 were pass plays, but I don't remember any of the other shit. But if you said what the name of the play, I'd know exactly where to go, who I was hitting, what feet to use, and everything else. I know. So it was done. I mean, if you weren't getting it, you weren't going to play. End of story.
That simple guard trap we used to run 2021 check with me, run it to the shade, or run it away from the shade to the 3 technique. And Dougie it didn't matter who, you just got miles of yardage out of that thing. And it was just right up the middle.
Yep. Yeah, tell him I said you're welcome.
I heard this story. Maybe you can confirm it, but your freshman year when you guys went up to Lebanon Valley, that did not go well from what I heard. I heard that Cubes got in a fight with the bus driver, and the bus driver's name was Bill Bailey. And there was a kid on the team's name that was Bill Bailey. And when Cube says, "What's your name?" he said, "Bill Bailey." Everybody on the bus cracked up laughing.
I don't remember the bus driver problem. And maybe, do you remember that, Punta? I don't remember that. Did we get lost again, or was that which one was it? Was it FDU when the bus driver pulled over to look for directions and he got out of the bus and went to the bathroom and everything? Like, okay, that must have been.
That was, like I said, that was the night that every coach got fired. GA got fired because Cube said, "You can figure out how to get yourself to Gainesville," because he was going to the Florida game on Saturday. He said, "But you can't get us to New Jersey."
Oh man, that's silly.
There were some wild times, man. They were good times, though. They were great times.
Yeah, I think Lead Val is like, because we were up there twice. If I recall, they put us in a shed. And it was freaking cold,
Oh yeah,
and that was the place. It was like this dump. They would throw us in there to like, and I mean, come on, man. Like, they had like nice facilities and everything. I remember our freshman year when we went to Lev Val. We had our old school probably pants from like 1980, and our helmets and jerseys. I mean, the only thing that was new was probably our jerseys. And then you go to Lev Val, they got these nice, like, they're
modern stuff. They had modern,
yeah. I mean, it was like solid, and you're like, wow, and we're like old school, it's like, man, we're still stuck in the 80s, and here, these schools that we're playing are just, everybody got, even high school, had better like facilities or uniforms, and you're just thinking like, man, this is Widener. What do we have, But you know what? I think we had heart, man. That's kind of like what I look at, and grit. But
we had the Armory.
The Armory.
That's where we were halftime.
Yeah.
Garrett, you weren't around. You don't remember that.
You didn't. Sometimes we had to sit on the ground. Like, we didn't have chairs. They wouldn't put chairs up and stuff. We had to sit on on the basketball court.
Halftime. We got a canned Gatorade.
Green Gatorade and and oranges, maybe, if you were lucky.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
So, I remember we went to, when we were at Albright. They had we were in the locker room and we were losing, and at halftime, and I had jumped off sides on 4th and 1. I
Oh,
didn't jump off sides. It wasn't on 2. I just was faster off the ball than everybody, and the guy got in my head. He was a 4-year starter at defensive end, and he was in my head. And I just the 4th down. I wanted to get the 1st down. I came off with just a tick early, and it was in front of our bench. Everyone could see it. And we're at halftime, and Cubits. It's a close game, and we end up winning the game, but it's a close game. And Cubit just ripped me in front of the entire locker room. And he said, "If I knew you weren't going to play today, I wouldn't have brought you on the bus." I'm like, "Oh,
he
yeah,
always had, he
oh
always
man,
a one-liner,
oh
high school Harry, or, it was
yeah,
always one of them. I mean, yeah, I do. The other thing that you never wanted to do with him was say, I think I deserve some playing time, because you were just going to get brutalized in practice. And then you'd be getting obscenities yelled at, you got balls asking me for playing time. You can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, I saw more than a handful of guys do that, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'll just stay where I am. But it. I think if you counted varsity plays, no one got more ass chewings than I did. If varsity plays and ass chewings came in, I got more than anybody else did.
yeah.
But what the other thing I remember, and I don't want to forget about this, but when we got to the new stadium, remember what color the visitors' locker room was?
It was pink.
It was pink.
It was pink. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Now they've swapped everything. So like if you look at the picture behind me, we come out this side now. Right, we used to come out the other far end, but the Widener's locker room is over here, and now it's gorgeous. Wood lockers, couches. It still smells the high hell, but
We did that when I was
yeah, we
coaching there. We
yeah,
made that change.
but it's nice. I mean, it's much nicer facility, but we're trying to do other things down there. Like we're working on, there's a couple of rooms behind the stadium that one of them's like basically empty. It's never had anything in it in 30 years. So we're trying to spruce it up, make it like a brotherhood lounge, and have a couple of TVs in there streaming the game and some seating. You want to go in there if it's cold or rainy or something like that. It'd be a nice spot. There's still, I don't know if you've been back in a while, Calvin, but there's a gentleman that comes to every single football game. His name is Duke, and he's a graduate, and his son David is disabled and in a wheelchair. He's also a graduate, and they go to lacrosse games, they go to everything, but they come to all the football games, and it would be he's super supportive. So he's for them, people like that really give a shit, and to contribute to the program. So we're trying to make it better, but
yeah,
what's it come down to, man? It always comes down to money
yeah.
and working on it, but it's in progress. So we'll see what happens, but and then they've actually had offers to replace the scoreboard with like a video board, like real stuff, but they're trying to work through it. It's expensive, but these companies want the business, and
Sure.
they're giving great deals, and they would do all this advertising, and we would actually almost get the money back in about a year if we did it. So just got to lay it out in the beginning, but there's progress happening, man. You know what I mean? So
Maybe we need another Schmitty and Herb.
yeah.
Those
Yeah.
guys were classic.
Yeah. I knew Schmitty from before when I was a kid. When I was a kid and growing up in Delaware County, he was an equipment manager with the athletic association that I played at.
Oh my
And so
God.
that's how I knew him. And I hadn't seen him in probably 10 years. when I was a kid, and then he was at Widener, like, oh, Schmitty, Pete Garcia, my dad, oh, holy shit, all right, but it's just funny, but yeah, Herb was a piece of work. I remember every day I'd say, hey, Herb, hey, how you doing, Herb? And he'd go, yep. That was his answer, just yep.
Either that, either that or Bud.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
That was yeah, that was why. And then that damn door, they had to buzz you in. Remember the door? Sometimes they had to
It's stuck in the door in between the two, or whatever. Oh shit. It's funny,
well,
man.
and then
Funny.
if you got screw in cleats trying to walk down that damn concrete covered walkway, you damn near break your neck, especially if you had any moisture on. It was horrible.
Yeah. Did you guys use those? I never used the screw-in cleats. I never could get into them. Nah.
I had to look good, so yeah, we used the screw-in cleats.
Well, did you guys ever use the pumps? I never used the pumps either. I don't know. I was not a pump guy.
I didn't have those.
No,
I didn't have.
no. Was that 1 year or two, Boot? I can't remember. Just the 1 year.
Yeah, I was probably
You're
the
on,
only
you're on
guy.
mute, bro. Boot, you're on mute, brother.
Oh, sorry, man.
Okay.
Yeah, pumps the 1 year. That was our junior year. Now,
Okay.
he said when we first came in, he was like all white shoes. That's
Yeah.
when like black cleats were just coming into like I don't know, in high school we were just black cleats, black socks. Like it was making a comeback. And I get to Widener, white shoes. I'm like, what? And to me, it's just like, man, like it just didn't look right. But you know what? I lived through it. But then by their junior years, like we had the Reebok pumps. I mean, you know what? I taped it up anyways. It still looked good, like the white,
But we went black in
Regardless.
'93. We went to black. We had black in '93.
We went to black and then we went to,
Yeah.
to white.
And then we went back to white, and guys were like
yeah.
spray painting their shoes. They were. They couldn't afford. They were wearing the same cleats. They wouldn't buy a new pair of cleats. They they couldn't afford them, and they would spray paint them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome though.
I forget who that was because we walked past their doormat and they were like, "What the hell's that smell?" And they had a can of sodium in there and they were spraying the cleats. Night before.
Oh my gosh, that's funny as hell.
I
That's
think
the kind of shit. That's the kind of shit you live through, man, in those small colleges.
I think I'm the guy that ever walked into the training room and I was hurting. And I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you were in there, but I know Birdsall was in there.
He's
and
always
I said,
in there. Birdsall.
I said, AJ, can you look at my shoulder? I got kicked by a cow over the weekend, and the whole locker room or the whole training room just busted out laughing. And he said, "Well, take your shirt off." And I took my shirt off, and I had 2 marks from where the hoof got me. And AJ's like, "Jesus Christ!"
Hey, listen, I was in the locker room. Like in the training room, a couple times. Like I said,
oh yeah, a couple times. A couple, just a few.
It was. I would
it
say.
Felt like you missed every camp.
No. I made it. I made it all the way through freshman year and senior year. It was just sophomore and junior year. Like I missed out on camp. I made it through like the first couple of days, and then it wasn't by design. And that's why like you hear, like some of the guys, when they talk about practice, that's like my famous line, AI practice, right? Just show up and play. We don't need practice, because I'm always in the training room with AJ, getting ice or getting taped or whatever. But, like I said, like in today's world, like you get hurt. I feel like, I remember like in high school, you weren't allowed to get hurt. You get hurt, you don't play. Here, college, like you get hurt, you come back, it's like you got your position back. The mentality is totally different, and that's kind of like, supportive, I think, in that way. But like in high school, regardless, you're limping, man. You're dying, because you don't want to lose your position. You don't want to lose, your ability to go out in the field and make a play, because you want to take a week to recover. So anyway, but yeah. Quick question. So between all you guys here, like, what is your most like memorable game, at Widener?
Man, that's a good one. I got to think about that one before I answer it.
Yeah.
I could give you a couple. But
There's
like,
there's so many memorable ones
Yeah.
that stick in my mind, but I'd have to say the first championship when we beat FDU and we knew we had won the champion. Oh, now we had to win out, but we knew we had it at that point. And that was one of those games we never really got away from them. That was Brian's first start. But that one, I remember, of all people, Max Belfast screaming to the top, "Come on, this is for the MAC championship. Let's get this together." That one sticks in my mind, but there's not one of them I consider and say that's the most memorable. There's definitely bits and pieces out of one of them, I think. I mean, there's a lot of them in there that were just really satisfying or, deflating.
I think for me, I can name a couple. Just my first start was at Moravian, '92, and we won the game. It was our first win of the season, which was pretty cool. It had its own thing. '94 against Susquehanna at home, the only home game we played them at, was memorable for me for a few reasons. Number one, that was the hardest hitting game I was ever in my entire life. I went home or went back to the dorm or whatever, and man, I soaked and I was so sore. I couldn't believe how much I was hurting. Man, it was such a hard hitting game. And the second reason for that game is because that's the game that Vic got hurt and Brian had to come in. And we're standing in the huddle, and Vic is in agony on the ground, and we're in the huddle, but he's turned and looking at Vic, and I'm standing right in front of me, and he looked like a deer in headlights. I mean, he was like, and I said, "Yo, what's wrong?" He's shaking. I'm like, "Look who you're in the huddle with. Come on, let's go down and score." And we did. We went down and scored. And I'm saying that story because he told me that. I don't remember saying it. He told me that I did that to him. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And it was just a powerful thing for me that I just happened to say to him right in front of when it needed to be said, and he led us through the playoffs and stuff like that, which was kind of neat. And then I'm sorry, not Kings, Dickinson. I don't remember a game where I dominated somebody so intensely. I mean, there was a few plays where I actually drove my guy out of the TV screen. And even though we only won 14-0, I mean, we beat the living shit out of those guys up and down the field. I mean, I was crushing those people, and that's how I felt. Those are the memorable ones for me. Yeah.
How many scores do we have called back because of penalties in that game?
2.
At least 2.
Yeah, at least 2. But it was just a dominant. I mean, we beat the daylights out of them. Up and down the field. It felt good like that. So a couple of highlights for me, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, Pete, like one of my most memorable games. I would say I'll start with my freshman year would be the Susquehanna game. That was kind of
Losing you a little bit there, buddy. Your audio.
my audio still.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Better.
Yeah. No, I say my most memorable game or games would be like again Susquehanna, right? Our freshman year, that was the breakout. 10 catches, 200 yards, breaking the Widener record for most receiving yards, and then but just kind of like learning and developing, throughout the season. That was kind of like the break point for me as, developing and gaining confidence game by game and just kind of, learning how to be a good receiver. So that to me, but also was like a revenge game because when Susquehanna came to recruit at our, high school, they didn't even look at me. So that was to me like every time, when schools that were on my list that came and didn't even like think about me or I wasn't on their list, those were to me like the revenge game. Kind of same thing with Dickinson. To me, the most memorable, that's one of those where they came, they didn't even look at me, and they look at all the other guys, that were, I guess better than me or that what they wanted. But also, what I thought about Dickinson was they were like number 1 or number 2 ranked team in the country, I think, when we played them. And they were like the number 1 rushing team in the country. And we just shut them down completely, on
Yeah.
defense. So that was a heck of a game. We had fun. But also, beating a highly ranked team, to me, that was just like so memorable.
I think everybody thought that was an upset but us.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about all week how we were going to beat them.
Yeah.
We knew we were going to beat them.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you more info beyond that. So, I know we walked into that game very confident. They were worried about their offense. The option wasn't easy to defend. But they were not worried about, I know for a fact they were worried about our offense, for sure. But then the next week when we play W and J, I'll say give you a little bit of insight tip from the Lions play. We met, we watched some video, whatever it was, Monday or whatever, and Sam is talking to us about them. Look, they're big, they're this, they're that, whatever. They're badass, da, da, da. But guess what? We're not changing a thing. We don't need to. We're going to take it to them. And we did. We hung in there. We should have won the game ultimately. But, that's just goes to show you that how special things really were at that point. It was really nice to see. Yeah. I was like, oh man, they got 300-pound guys and we're not changing anything. Oh, what's that tell you? They're worried too. So it was pretty neat.
So my thing, guys, is in a whole different perspective, right? So your memorable games are actually playing, right? So for me to answer that question, I didn't travel. So I weren't in the meetings with you guys. You know what I mean? It was just, so, going back to the 94-95 season, my memories are basically what we did on the practice field and the preparation, right? But I'm going to share this with you. You know me, I always had a high motor on the field, right? But when I started coaching, right, and you bring up Lycoming a lot, and they're a fucking thorn in my side, okay? We're up at Lycoming. That's when I was coaching with Clemens, helping him with the inside linebackers because we ran a 3-4 with Woody. And the fucking cowbells at Lycoming, and I'm up in the press box, and we're in a dogfight with them. And we got down at halftime, and we just, we're down like 7, and the locker room was just like dead. And let me tell you, I lost my shit. Right, when Clemens was there, he stopped, and that's when I kind of realized at that moment, kind of like having that high motor, but just that type of mentality to say fuck this place. And then I took my coaching style with that to where we're always going to be attention to detail. We're going to go 100 miles an hour. We're going to be relentless. And that's the first time I think I ever showed my personality, feeling comfortable enough. Because in 94-95, I didn't see a whole lot. You guys ran the team. So I wasn't like that rah-rah guy. Like, I didn't feel it was my position to kind of insert myself that way, even though I had it. But I don't know what it was, guys. But at that halftime, it just came out. And I live my life to that every day. Now with the work ethic, the attention to detail, we ain't coming in last. And I'm appreciative of it. But that's really the memorable I had as far as when it led me to my other 15 years of coaching in high school, led me to me being a principal now and how I lead and the things that I do. And so, you guys have all the stories about, the enjoyments of the games and the trials and tribulations and stuff. And I'm fortunate to get to enjoy any of that with you. But that one moment, man, it's really, I think that's what really brought me out, my personality, and carried me through, if you will. And and I appreciate that with Woody. Clements obviously went on and became the head coach of Del Val, and now he's on to what he went with GA to Del Val and things like that. But it's just being a nasty. Hey, we're here to win. We're going to be the best of what we do. No excuses. And I'm going to shove those cowbells up their asses like there's no tomorrow. I was so pissed. I'm like, boy, you might as well just put me back on the bus, man, because I'm no good at this. I just wanted to beat the shit out of someone. So, and then the playoff game at Lebanon at Lycoming in 95. I was there with Craig Romig.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember. I was carrying around the W flag. I was so fucking loaded. Because Craig and I drove up with the fan bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Romig and I. And all we did was sit in the back. We drank more rum and coke than I ever had in my life. And then I remember getting in the locker room with you guys after the game. Obviously everything kind of sobered down there. And it was a tough loss, man. So it's Lycoming, man. I think everyone's got a team that's got a thorn in their side.
Yeah.
And Lycoming was it for me. And Kings, too. For some reason, I didn't like Kings either.
Yeah, they got better. They've gotten better over the years. Kings. They were pretty trash when we were there.
Yeah.
I remember we played them in '93. That was the first year we played them. It was there at their place, and we get the ball in the opening kickoff, and we start going down the field, and there's a guy on top of Jeff Bell who started at right guard, and the guy had his face all painted, like big time, like you look like the Ultimate Warrior or from the Road Warriors or something, right? Like,
well, that's when the movie The Program was out,
right?
right?
It was just coming out, right? Like, and he knew his Jeff's name. He knew, I mean, and he was making fun of his stance. He was chirping the whole drive. I mean, 6, 8, 10 plays. I mean, he's saying something every play. And, you remember him. He never talked practically, right? Like, and then, I never spoke a lot on the field either. I would make calls or whatever, but I was not a trash talker. I was too, in my own head. It came out eventually. Eventually, I would enjoy some things, but we after a few plays, like I'm in the huddle, I'm like, are you going to say something to this fucking guy? What are you waiting for? Right? And you could see him. You could see like the steam like building up, right? And we got in on the line, and the guy says something, and we were at this point we were like, on the 4-yard line. I mean, we had, they were not stopping us, right? We were going down the field, and the guy says something, and he goes, "Motherfucker, I'm driving you through the goalposts on this fucking play. It's coming right behind me." And he jacked the guy up. I was like, "Hey, you want to call double team? No, I got him." And he goes, he didn't say, he called him, "Hey, listen, Ultimate Warrior, I'm going to fucking drive you through the goalpost right now." And he did it, and the guy shut up. He never said a word the rest of the game. It's just, and that was, and then we played them in '95, Kings again. And we talked about this with Weiss because we brought it up with him because Weiss was playing guard, I think, or something like that in that season. And that was a game. I mean, we beat him like 66-8 or something like that. Like we crushed the crap out of them, but their middle linebacker was making a call. He was either saying hog or hawk or something like that. And it was coming out like ha 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 like that. Like it was like really high pitched or whatever. And he did it a few times, and then he did it, and Weiss did it. Weiss mocked him while we were on the line. And the guy's like, he's going, oh, and Joe goes, oh, right? Everybody busted out laughing. And I'm like, Weiss, you're such a dick. Like in front of everybody, we snapped the ball and we go. It was just like, oh my God. But,
If I'd have been under center, I probably would have fumbled the freaking
oh
ball.
man.
Oh my
But see,
God.
but he was the kind of guy that he was the exact opposite of me. He was not business whatsoever.
Oh,
He,
no.
he had so much fun and he had all the talent and never went to the gym. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was a really good player, but he couldn't. I don't think he could bench 175. Like, it was just
I'll
a
tell you what,
shame. But
Pete,
like,
he was trying to be my businessman when we wanted me to sign that ECW contract.
exactly. That's right. He's gonna put you in the.
He
He's gonna
was
pop.
just sit right next to me in the Jewelers Row. He's like, dog, you got to do this. I said, what are you talking about? $2,000. He goes, "Listen," and he's wheeling the deal, and he goes, I'll have that in 10 minutes. I'm like, dude, you know, God, I love Weiss, man. I'll tell you, the experiences with me and Dougie and Weiss, you know, the best thing I'll tell you is when I beat the shit out of Snock on that play in the field house that time when they put him at fullback. And, you know, Bobby and I, hey, you know, we, you know, it is what it is. But you know, nothing compares to when, you know, I was hanging out with Weiss and Dougie, if you will. But no, you know, Weiss used to park cars at the valet with Jim Ward with all of us, and at the country club. And so that's when we ran into Todd Gordon because he was a member there. So Weiss is like, yeah, he's from Philly. Weiss, obviously, come on, we're going to Jules Row. So that was the most excited I seen him ever, sitting there, and he was just trying to wheel a deal for us, you know. So yeah, he's business what he wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What a character, man. Those guys are something else, I swear to God.
But that's the other thing too. We had some characters. Oh my
Oh
God.
man. Yeah, that's the truth. Who do you think were your top three guys that you could never get out of your head, man? Like, just, I mean,
And I'll say this, and it's for all the wrong reasons. Henry Comer. You remember how they used to laugh, how they used to make so much fun of poor Henry because he talked the way he talked? Oh my God. And Chris used to imitate him all the time.
yeah.
Chris
Pearson. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You remember one day we had a practice and it was like late November. It was cold. I mean, it wasn't snowing, but it was cold. And he showed up to practice with a green and blue flannel shirt underneath his pads, and he taped up his face mask. He put tape over the whole thing.
I think that was before the Dickinson game. It was cold that week. Oh my, yeah, I forgot about that till you mentioned it. Yeah.
A fucking flannel shirt underneath a
WJ.
quilted flannel shirt underneath his pads.
Dude was from Florida. He was not used to that. Oh
my God. That's funny as hell.
Yeah, we had some characters, man. I mean, everyone, you know, played their part, you know. I mean, it was just, you know, I'll remember in camp, man, with Anthony Allen, you know, when Gil's sons found his stash and all the dorms unloaded because Anthony's out, you know, Anthony didn't know who took it. The kids took it. And he lost his shit. And he's out in the, you know, outside, you know, where we stayed, you know, for camp, screaming, who took my shit? Who took my shit? And so they all came out, and I said, they looked at me and they're like, dog, you gonna help with it? And I said, no, he's your problem.
Yeah.
You know, but Andy was always in there watching the 18 with us, always at the house too, you know what I mean? But you know, of course, Lou Hayner, man. I mean, Lou was Lou. You know, nothing really surprised me with Lou. But you know, everyone kind of had their thing, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, remember, you know, like you talked about Avery. Remember Tax?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Steve Hanscom.
Steve.
Oh, boy.
Steve Hanscom, yeah. He was Craig's
Steve Han-
roommate. He was Craig Roming's roommate when we were first pledging. So that's how I got to know Tex pretty well back then.
Yeah, he
Kind
went
of-
off the grid.
yeah.
I don't know if you want to edit this one or not, but I remember this. You want to talk about Jeff? Bobby McCabe was drunk at the house that one night, and Bobby just decided he was going to pick a fight with Jeff, and that was
I was there. I was in the room watching it. Yeah.
well. And then when Bobby went in to go to the defensive meeting, and Coach Koenig was, he said, "Bobby, what happened to you?" He goes, "I fucked with the wrong motherfucker."
You gotta watch out for the quiet ones, man.
He put it. They were. I remember that.
Oh,
Clear as day. The two of them guys were standing in front of each other. They're both going, "Come on, come on," and Bobby goes, "Come on, come on." Finally, they went after each other, and Jeff wrestled. I mean, he twisted Bobby up, had him on the couch, and just tried to subdue it. And Bobby was trying to like grab him or something. Jeff had him in the head like, "Stop it!" Oh, just
I think he said, "Somebody get him away from me before I kill him."
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh heavens!
Too many of those stories, man. Just
Yes.
funny. It's funny. Oh shoot. Yeah, I mean, those guys from the city were always the ones that were. They just seemed to be in and around something mischievous, at least all the time for me. I mean, like Weiss and stuff like that. It was always antagonizing something or whatever. Never bad, never really in trouble, but causing some mischief. Which is what I always thought was funny.
Met Max Belfus at camp. I think he showed up at camp with this huge black eye, and they're like, "What happened?" He said, "Some guy hit me in the face with a brick." Jeez. Like, holy smokes.
It's like another world, man. You know what I mean? But, how strange to you is that? And then you saying, "Well, I got kicked by a cow." I mean, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
It's a whole different world, bro.
Well, it was because that Cubes had actually asked me. He goes, "Why don't you play lacrosse?" And I remember Anthony Gossett, straight as day, going, "Man, you don't hit nobody in South Philly with a stick."
Yeah. Oh shit, man. That's funny, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You're not involved in anything anymore, are you, Calvin? You're not coaching or anything. You done with that for a while. Yeah.
I got a full-time job working in an accounting firm as an HR director.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for 25 years. And if anybody wants any advice on HR, I'll say go pick something else, man.
Yeah.
Where are you at? Are you in Maryland or are you in
I'm
PA?
actually in Harrisburg, firm called McConley and Asbury. But I was telling Pete before we jumped on, we actually acquired a small firm in Philadelphia at 1600 Market Street. And I told Pete I got off at 30th Street Station and walked right past the Aramark building. I said, "Boy, that brings back some bad memories." Worst food in town.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I I remember more than once, going to either lunch or dinner and not even making it to the front door of McMorland. Turn right into the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when he used to have that steak and shrimp night and you had to pick and you gave him the ticket. And I remember Anthony Allen going, "Wait a minute, I give you this ticket. This means I can't come back." And the woman starts laughing. He goes, "This shit ain't funny."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was a trip, man. You remember? Were you guys there when he ran the 40 barefoot?
Yeah,
Yeah. What are you doing,
yeah.
man? Put some fucking shoes on, dude. What are you doing?
I couldn't run that fast with shoes on. That's what was
No.
scary.
Yeah, he was a beast, man. Big. He's wider than all outside, man. That guy.
Yeah, it's a shame he passed, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
If he took
yeah,
anything, if he took half of what he did more serious,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, his just natural strength. I mean, he never like we were in the weight room and you know, he just never like Weiss. For some reason, he just never devoted. But he get on the incline. He's like, "Hey, dog, put 315 on this," and he just rep it.
yeah.
You know, I think he's from Deptford. He's from Deptford, New Jersey, Andy.
Yeah.
But I remember one time outside the house, one night, there's a couple of individuals that came from Rutgers. And I remember in the basement, I wasn't down in the basement, but apparently the guy was there to see his girlfriend and ended up hitting the girlfriend in front of Anthony. And they went outside on the street. And I remember, you remember when McGee used to date that girl, Courtney, and he always used to drive that black Nissan, right? It was parked outside her house. Andy put the guy through the windshield,
Hmm.
you know, and then the guy hit Andy in the head with a brick. So we had him up in, and then Andy's in the third story of the house, and he's bleeding all over. I'm like, "Dog, you good, man?" He goes, "Dog, I'm never better." So I mean, he got after it at times. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it, man. And it's.
I
I
remember.
remember walking down the street one Saturday night, and Edmund Robinson, I think he got jammed up with the law, and he ran into me, and he goes, "Hey, dog." I said, "What, Edmund? Is that you?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You didn't see me." Nope. Don't know who you are, my man. See you later. So we had some cats, man.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I remember Coach Swan telling Anthony one time during film study, and this was before practice. He says, "That sucks," and Anthony said, "I don't suck," and Swan lit into him. And I when we had scout, I think he made every damn tackle in that practice because he was pissed off.
Yeah.
I thought, Christ, don't let me run an option. I'm pitching that son of a bitch. I'm not turning such getting this pitch, but I'm
That's just but that goes to show you, like, if he really wanted to do it,
not.
he could have been, all conference linebacker and mopped everybody up. But the dedication, like the difference between some of those guys and the guys that are getting all the recognition and all that stuff is like 5%. You know what I mean? Like they just would have did a little bit. It would have been really hard to stop them, and they couldn't. They couldn't get out of their own way, unfortunately. Like you couldn't stop drinking beer for one day to go lift some weights.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, Upshaw was freakishly talented. If
yeah,
that guy was just unbelievable.
yeah.
And then you look at a guy like Scarpati. That guy, he he's what I thought a football player should be. That guy
Mhm.
worked hard and he just had the mentality.
Yeah. But you gotta say, you have to add to it. Joe came from a bit
Oh
of
yeah.
a pedigree, right?
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
mean, his dad played in the pros, so it's a little bit different, but slightly different. But you're right, he worked for it too. He did
Oh
work for
yeah.
it. I mean, like a guy like Jeff Bell, who was supremely talented and didn't work for it like as much. Like he worked a little bit. He wouldn't work out that hard in the summer or whatever. But like, it just, once he got on the field, nothing got him off. And there
No,
was wasn't many people better. So there was a little bit of all of it. Like, and
I think that's what made it interesting though.
yeah,
Watching some of those guys work and just making it look so, like Rob. It just made it look so effortlessly.
oh, it was Robson Little. Yeah, I mean, is that, yeah, I mean, yeah, he was. I don't know. Sometimes I look at someone like him and like, well, how did he end up here? Because he could have done damage at a lot of higher level, but we're lucky to have him. But yeah, it's very effortless for some people. Some of us had to work pretty hard at it.
I remember one time at Inside, a bunch of people missed their block, and they had him dead in the rights. And I think he made Steve Tukowski fall right on the ground. And somebody else he made it miss too. Tukowski gets up and goes, "Man, this is a totally different fucking game here."
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
It's Florida speed.
It was it was a real pleasure to watch those guys work. I mean, to see that, to have a bit of a hand in it, was something else. But just, I too many times where I'd maybe cut a guy, cut a linebacker, or whatever, and I'd look and I'd see the guy, and they would just it would be over. Like I'm like, oh, there he goes again. There he goes again. Just, it was something to watch, man. It was really neat.
Yes, it was.
What else you guys got? You got anything else for Calvin tonight, guys?
Widener, man. I mean, holy cow! I have the stuff I don't even remember, but this is what these things are for, man. Bring back those memories, man. Calvin, you brought up the whole like steak and shrimp night. I mean, I wouldn't even thought about that. I was like, holy cow! I'm like, damn, now I remember. Like.
I'll tell you another funny thing I used to remember. Do you remember when they put those damn credit card applications in the mailboxes? Gary, I don't think he was. I think he was going by the time. There was a guy named Mike Curry. And Mike Curry was from Florida, and I don't know how many CDs he bought with those damn credit cards. And he said, "Don't matter. I ain't coming back here next semester. They're never going to find me." I forgot about those mailboxes till just now. They were, it was a nightmare.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what I would do. I would, used to have to give them $5 for the key, the deposit for the key, right? So every year, man, I'd burn it. I'd be down to the last. No, I'd have no money left. Oh, I got my $5 for the key, and that's how I'd use gas to get home. That's it.
I'll tell you another one that used to just tap my ass to no end. That goddamn off-calling campus card. You remember that? In order to make an off-campus card, you had to use that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Vic showed up to camp one year and had like 6 of them from people that weren't coming back, and it still had money on them.
Oh man, yeah, stuff like that, man. That
was fun.
I remember when in '93, Danny and I roomed together in what was where Sharples and what were the other Mole and what was the one in the middle? Sharples was the one in the middle, right? The middle one, I think. So yeah, so as soon as you walk in, we were right to the right. Remember, Boone? Remember?
Yep.
So you had like a suite. There were 2 rooms, and the 2 rooms shared a bathroom and a shower and a tub and everything. And the one guy that lived there was Ben Gismondi. He was a running back, and and he had another roommate who played, but he quit. Right? I don't know. He was a freshman, right? I remember we the first weekend, like after camp, and we got Ben and his buddy or whatever his name was, his roommate out. We took him out. We got him obliterated drunk, and he's like, we never hung out with him again. He wouldn't hang out with us anymore. Couldn't. He's like, you fucking guys, man. Like, all right, man. Don't worry about it. I felt so bad for the guy, and I think he might have quit the team or something after too. Like we just crushed him in one weekend, and then like we started pledging. So we were never really around anyway. And then about halfway through pledging, Jeff Bell lost the key to his dorm because I guess he was still living in, Cannes or whatever, wherever he was at. So he just stayed with us instead of buying a new key. He's too lazy. He was the laziest white guy I've ever met in my life. It's just hysterical. He just stayed with us for like 3 weeks. I'm like, dude, can you go get a key and get your own fucking room? Like, Jesus Christ. Or find your roommate or something. Like, what the fuck, man? Just a savage way to live, man. I remember coming back to the dorm one night and, after partying and, it was probably 3 a.m. and I'm walking back and I see like, we were that very first window on the first floor and I could see like a light flickering right, and the television was on and I like peek in and I see Danny in there with a girl. Like, God damn it, son of a bitch. Like, I had to sleep on the couch in the common area. Like, what the fuck, man? Oh, shit. It ended up being Sue. He hooked up with Sue that night.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Oh, Christ
Storage was
almighty.
cool.
Oh my God. Yeah. Dorm life,
Oh, I was in Howe Hall above. You remember that place they used to have called the Metro?
Oh shit, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We tried to have Saturday night games and they had that shit going on downstairs. Or Saturday. I'm like, there's no and I mean the shit would be vibrating off of my
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like,
The Metro.
Yeah. I lived there. I lived in Hal my freshman year, so it was like, what the fuck? There's no chance of sleeping, man, on a Friday night there. Not even a close,
I was right above
I'm
it.
surprised people don't take advantage of that, like, more often. Like,
Yeah.
it was like free beer, wasn't it? Pretty much.
Well, you had to be
Wings and
20.
beer?
You obviously had to be 21, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I remember when we got it, like an
Geez.
ID, we would get in there, we would sneak in or something. People would give us beer or whatever, but like, and then when we were 21, we would go there. You could hit that a lot just to get the free beer, so.
I know. Who would do that these days,
Oh, yeah. Jen, my wife brought it up not too long ago. We were talking about it. She's like, "Do you remember the bathrooms just had clear, like frosted shower curtains?
Yeah.
There were no doors. It was just a shower curtain over in front of the toilet."
I remember we figured out I did I don't know how many loads of laundry and dryer with 75 cents. Because if you shoved them in that far, as soon as you heard them click, you could yank that bitch right out and take the place and do a whole load of laundry.
Yeah, somebody was doing it with like or you'd have the soda can and you slide the soda can in with it or something like that. You'd cut a soda can up and you could slide it in and out and click it back and forth. Do that too.
Plastic bag. They would
Yeah.
put like a piece of plastic on, then put the quarters in, and when they would hold the plastic as it was like pushing that in and then pull the plastic out with the quarters. So many variations.
Shit.
Free laundry.
Yeah. It was nice when we moved into the house and they had a washer and dryer in there. Now, God forbid you leave anything in there because somebody was stealing it. By the end of the semester, I had like 2 pair of underwear and 2 pair of socks. Like, where did all my stuff go? And like, oh, I know where it went. I go into Jim Work's room. He's going, holy shit, there's all my shirts and stuff. What the fuck, man? Oh shit.
How many cable splices did you have in there? You remember that?
I don't remember even having. I don't remember. I mean, it was probably a few. Andorn too.
We did it, Andorn.
Yeah. But,
one person paid for cable and
yeah. That was funny. I mean, I guess just about everybody had something in their room, right? I mean, in some of those places. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
Oh my.
Good times, man. Good times.
That's the shit, man. That's funny as hell.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, good. Well, why don't we start wrapping it up here, guys? Appreciate the conversation,
Sounds
Calvin.
good.
It was great having you on, man. Great reconnecting with you.
Yeah.
Great hearing some of these stories. It's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well, you guys be good. I'm here if you need anything else, and enjoyed my time. Great seeing you.
Same here, guys.
You too,
Yeah,
Calvin.
you too,
Keep
Calvin.
the fishing going, buddy. Keep those pictures coming.
You too. Take care, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right,
See
we're
you
done.
guys.